whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te taonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā kina mā taratara ki tai. Ehi ake ana te tākura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, tihei mauri ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora Tania. He mihi ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko Whenua te roto, ko Waira airangi te iwi no Rāhui Pōkeka ahau, ko te ko toitu te whenua ahui e mahi ana, ko Dwayne Wilkins tokonunga, no reira tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to our session today. Been looking forward to this one. We'll be talking about accessing council GIS maps, data and resources, and we've got a very special guest here, Georgia Edwards from Bay of Plenty Regional Council, and she's going to be sharing with us today some resources which are looking pretty good. And on the chat there's just before I hand over to Georgia, just to let you know, if you would like to access the links at the same time, there's only one thing you need to take a note of, and that is to go to matawhenua.com, Matawhenua, M-A-T-A, whenua.com, and have a look at the first story map link, and I'll put that link in the chat as well, so that you can follow along with Georgia's kōrero. So with that, we'll get straight into it. I'm going to hand over to you, Georgia. Kia ora.
Thanks, Dwayne. Kia ora tātou, ko mongere te monga, ko manako te awa, no tamakia hou, ko Edwards toko whānau, ko Georgia toko ingoa. I've been a GIS analyst at Toi Moana Bay of Plenty Regional Council for nearly 4 years now, and part of my job here is helping put together publicly available data resources and helping to keep data up to date and just make information about the work we do and just information that's relevant to the people in our region accessible. And one great way to do that is maps. I mean, I'm biased, I'm a GIS analyst, I love maps, but so today I'm just going to show you through a few examples, how to use viewers, how you can access data, and just give you a bit of an idea about what's out there. So 1 second, I'll just share my screen.
All right. Thanks, Georgia. And I'll put that link on the chat in a moment. And if you have any partai, please do feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll bump us. I'll just grab Georgia's attention as we go.
Yes.
Just wanted to check, is your screen sharing?
It says it's sharing. I hope so. Can everyone see
here
it?
We go. Here we
there
go.
we go.
We're just
Take a minute.
Slightly different system today. Okay.
Okay.
And maybe once Georgia's finished her kōrero, then we'll figure out how we have a bit of an informal chat. Any partai you might have, and have a look at some other resources and things. Good. I'm going to leave you to it now, Georgia, for a moment.
So one of the things I've found since starting working here at Toi Moana is that a lot of people don't really know much about the roles of regional councils compared to territorial authorities or city or district councils. So I thought I'd just briefly go over that, just so that you understand a bit more about the work that I focus on. So you can see on the map here, the yellow boundary is the Bay of Plenty Regional Council boundary that we cover, and we intersect with the so Tauranga City Council, Western Bay Plenty District Council, Rotorua District Council, tiny little bit of Taupo District Council, Kawerau, Whakatane, and Opotiki District Councils as well. So we work with all of them. Territorial authorities usually their boundaries are more focused on communities where people live and work, and the work they do is usually what people typically think of when you say you work for a council, things like rubbish collection, noise complaints, community centres, parks, libraries, local infrastructure. But at the regional council, our boundaries are a bit larger. They follow more like natural catchments or river catchments or boundaries. and we focus more on natural resources such as water allocation, pollution control, biosecurity, public transport, or flood protection and river management. So most of the apps that we cover today will be focused more on that environmental side of things. But I've also included some links a bit later on to data sets from all of these different territorial authorities, because they have their own resources available as well, which are very similar. And yeah, you can access lots of cool data in there as well. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of the difference between them, because people ask me quite often why their erosion wasn't collected, and I don't know the answer to that because that is not my job. Cool. So this is a brief overview of what we're going to run through today. I've got all these apps open on my other screen ready to go. But first, let's start with how you actually get there. Obviously, Dwayne's created a great story map for you to access things easily, but if you are just looking for information, it's usually on the council website. So if I come to the Bay of Plenty Regional Council homepage, there's a big maps button right at the top, front and centre. Click through to that. And you can just scroll through a list of our most popular maps, some of which we'll cover today, and click into any of them for more information and have a look at the data. It's also a search bar, so if you're looking for something specific, you can come and find it here. And everything is also broken down by our organisational values as well, if you have something a bit more specific you want to look into. Let's start with marae locations. So this is one of our web maps that's available through that Bay of Plenty Maps page. You can use your mouse wheel or these scrolling plus minus buttons to zoom in to an area that interests you. Click on any of the little marae symbol. Once you're zoomed into a certain scale, labels become visible, but you can also click on them at any stage to bring up the pop-up, which has a whole bunch of information about the iwi, hapū, Māori constituency, addresses, and also XY coordinates as well. For that location, there's a search bar at the top. If you're looking for a specific marae, but you don't know exactly where it is in the region, you can find that here. And you can also change the base map. So we've got aerial imagery on by default. That's one that's the most popular in our requests. But if you want to look at locations on a topographic map, out a more basic light grey base map, just to make the marae stand out a bit more, anything in here that kind of suits your needs, you can change that. Or there'll be better examples later on, because this one only has marae locations, but if you wanted to switch other layers on and off, you can just come in and untick them or tick them in here. And the symbology is also displayed in this view as well, so that we can see the little red marae symbol means it's a marae location. There's also this 3-dot kind of options menu to the right-hand side of all the layers, which gives us a few extra options, including exporting the data to a CSV, so Excel spreadsheet, or as a JSON file. You can also filter at this view as well. So if we wanted to filter only for, so we might create a clause which is TLA, so it's that territorial local authority, you can either type the word or change it to a drop-down Opotiki. We just turn that filter on. We can see they've all disappeared on the map. Just close that down for a second. And if we zoom out, now we can only see marae locations within that Opotiki district. There's also the option to print if you want to create your own PDF maps or print them out at home. You can select a bunch of different templates there, A3 or A4, portrait landscape. Give your map a title, so we could call this Marae Opotiki. And there's also some advanced settings there. You can just give it a title, but if you want to play around with whether or not you've got a north arrow, the legends on the map, change a scale bar. It's defaulting to miles. That should probably be kilometres because we're not in America. Yeah, change the print quality, a few other settings there if you want to get a bit more specific with it, and then you hit print. Now, this is something that often trips people up because it doesn't bring up a PDF straight away, but it's in this results tab. You can see the little spinning wheel going. And luckily, it didn't take too long for me in a live demo. Our map shows up under there. If we click on the link, we now have a PDF map that we can print or send in an email or do whatever we like with.
Looks
There's
great.
also a drawing tool, which is if you, let's just pick a matai. If you want to add your own features onto the map, some of your own annotations or mark something out, you can use this. So there's a few different options: points, lines, polygons, or you can just do rectangles or circles depending on what you're trying to draw. So let's say we were going to propose a new fence line was added into this marae. We might say we want to put a fence there. We can just click to start drawing, click at every point that we want to add a corner or vertex, and then double click to finish. And we have a line that we've drawn on our map, which we can also delete if we decide we want to do that again. Actually slightly change the shape, draw it on again, double click to finish. And then if we printed a map, we could export that as well. So just a way that you can customize it a little bit. This obviously won't stay on the map. If you leave and then come back again, you'd have to redraw anything. But just for quick little edits, that's quite a good option. And if you come back to this in a few months' time and you've completely forgotten what I've said, there's also a help panel here which goes through how to use all of the different tools and the pop-ups and kind of what's available within the web map as well, so you can reference that. So yeah, that is the
Georgia,
first. Yep.
quick question for you, just in terms of that information that when you draw it on there, is that stored in your browser only, or does that go back to the council?
On your browser only, so we can't see that information that you're drawing. Once you leave the map, it's gone, and we don't have access to that.
It is. Just wanted to check. I think it's good to know.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Thank you. Next, we will go on to our resource consent map. See, all of our maps have this panel down the side, which has a bit more information, I should point out, on what the map is showing, and usually a link to our website or other relevant websites about the topic, so you can get a bit more information or context. So, and if these are getting in the way and you've got a little screen on your laptop or something, you can minimize those there as well. Sorry.
Georgia,
yep.
Just one quick question just before you charge on and don't go back. Do you know off the top of your head how often the marae data is updated or maintained?
Not off the top of my head. I believe it's quite ad hoc though. So if we received information from a team or that there was a new marae that needed to be added or a feature was wrong, we'd go and update that. But if you see anything wrong in there, please do let us know. We're happy to change it. But yes, I'm not sure off the top of my head the exact frequency.
That's all good.
Cool.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks. So resource consents looks a little bit different. Since there are so many points, we've used this aggregated symbology when you're really zoomed out so that you just get a count of how many consents roughly are in the area. So you can see there's 627 just north of Lake Rotorua there, which is quite a lot of points. So once you zoom in a little bit further, you start to see more individual points showing, and then eventually get to a stage where the points are just scattered all over the map. I think if you zoom in a bit further, you should get labels. Maybe I'm lying about that. Anyway, if you click on any of these points, you will also get a pop-up which will give you the consent ID, category information, purpose of the consent, why that consent is granted, expiry date, and there's also a link to public documents which opens another tab on our website which allows you to read more thorough documents about that consent point. So you will have access to that. The symbology, what's that doing? Why are my symbols cut off? Have I zoomed in? Nope. Here's the live demo that wasn't doing that yesterday when I was practicing.
That's all right.
There is a search bar at the top here with this very thin white line. It's usually a proper search bar which allows you to search for a specific consent ID if you have it. So if you're looking for one on your property or just you're interested in one that you're aware of. There's also buttons up the top here, such as the filter. We've preset some filters in this one, so you can search for that consent ID there. and it will just now only show 1 point on the whole map. You can cancel that one and bring it back to all. Consents that expire between a certain date range. If you want to look at what's up to expire pretty soon, you can search that. Or consent status as well. So current, expired, application accepted, just if you want to get rid of some of the clutter. So if we just go to current, I think most of them are current. A few disappeared there, you might have missed it, but there were a couple of small ones that disappeared. Once again, we have that base map gallery, so you can change the map underneath to whatever suits your purposes. If you'd rather see some a topographic map, some relief hillshade, or a darker base map or something like that. The layer list, this is a better example of, so we've got our current consents and we can see that they are split out by colour, by subtype. So coastal consents are light blue, discharge consents are yellow. And then we also have the all consents layer, which is turned off by default because it is massive. So if we turn that on, see suddenly there's a whole lot more labels and points all over the map. So this one makes it a bit clunky and hard to read. So we leave that turned off. So you can get to that information if you need to, but most people, want to see current consents more often, and they don't want to have to read all those labels or overlapping. It makes it quite tricky. We have the set filter button available in that 3-dot menu as well here if you want to write your own query like we did on the marae locations. So if one of those 3 in the filters isn't what you're looking for, you want something different, you can set that yourself as well by going, let's say.
Could you do something water related there, Georgia?
Sorry, did I do something on water related?
Yeah, if you could. Could you do something on water?
Sure. Yep. So we will go subtype is, and we'll change this to a drop down water take. There we go. Turn the filter on using the little button at the top, and now we've only got bright blue points, and those are only showing water take consents. So everything else has been hidden from our map. And if we click on any of the points, we can see the pop-up, and they will all say water take under that subtype. But you can also get further information like category. This is a groundwater take versus a surface water take. There is the option to, once again, print your maps. There is the drawing tool again, so that you can add your own drawings just as a one-off to this map. And there's also a measure tool in this one as well, which works in a very similar way to the drawing tool, but it allows you to draw a line or a polygon. So they're quite small at the top here, but this little ruler with a line above it is just for drawing measuring the length of a line feature, and then this ruler on top of a almost rectangle polygon shape is for measuring area. So if we select that one, all you need to do is just, we say we want to measure how big these paddocks are, just click to start drawing, click at every corner, and you'll see it calculating as I draw the area in meters squared of that shape, and we get the area and the perimeter value on the right hand side here in the pop-up. You can do multiple measurements if you click new measurement. Oh, sorry, no. If you wanted to do a new one, you can draw it there, or you can clear the measurement there if you decide you did it wrong. I feel like those both did the same thing. I think that might be a bit of a mistake. I have to look into that. I think you're supposed to be able to draw a second one. That's something for me to look into after this. Yeah.
Georgia, could you just, you may be coming to this bit, but just exporting consents, is it possible to export out as a CSV or a GeoJSON or something?
Yes, it is. So it's slightly hidden, but there's a little button at the bottom here which allows you to bring up the attribute table for the current consents layer. So it filters by default to show what's in your map. So if you zoom into 1 point, you can see there, got 2 on the screen. So there's 2 rows on the attribute table, and we can see this one when we hover over any of the items in this row highlights the point in a yellow circle there. And when we hover over this one, it highlights the other points. That's how you know which one you're looking at. Or you can click on it to keep it highlighted in a light blue color. If you want to export this information as a table, there's this button right on the far right under Actions has an export option. If you've got a selection, you can just export that selection out. If you just want to export all of the data, there's an export for all data as well. So the options there to JSON, to CSV, GeoJSON as well. So yeah, if you want to get the data, you can do it that way. And yeah, you can also use print to get maps, and then this button to get Excel tables or copies of the data. So yeah, that is another bit of information that you can come and have a little look in, see what's on your property, see what's nearby at your neighbours or down the road from your house. Sorry, my toolbar is getting in the way of me switching to the next tab. Move that. Bay hazards. So another thing we're involved with here at Bay Plenty Regional Council is we work quite closely with civil defence, and we have natural hazards data that we share with the community. Since I've actually been up in the Emergency Management Centre today helping out with monitoring and GIS for the severe weather event we've got going on at the moment. So I've been doing this yesterday and today, and I'll be back up there after this and possibly working tomorrow, unfortunately, but that is how it is. And yeah, so some of the data we pull from or look at or give to our communities and encourage them to look at sits within Bay hazards. So we've got a link here to civil defence to find out what to do in an event. So if you haven't been looking much recently at, I guess, preparing for severe weather or other natural events, recommend checking that out as well. And we've got different event types listed up to the top here. So landslides has obviously been a bit of a hot topic at the moment with all of the severe weather going on. And we can see this is a raster layer. So that means that it's, instead of being a point line or polygon feature, it's a grid, and each grid cell is assigned a value. In this case, depending on landslide susceptibility. So when in a rainfall situation, whether the chance of a landslide is very low, low, moderate, or high. So as that colour gets darker, the risk increases. Whakatane is quite an interesting example here, because see we've got quite a lot of low, flat area down here, which is all in this very low category. But as soon as you get into the steeper terrain up here, it switches, and there's quite a clear line where it goes from a very low to a much higher risk.
Nice.
So yeah, it's quite an interesting example to look at. We do have a few areas that, what's explained in here, are listed as not assessed, and that was just because we had other landslide modelling done for some specific areas at a very similar time. So instead of redoing them when we already had very good information for those areas done by so I guess Whakatane District Council did those ones, and there are some in Taonga City as well. We've referenced those ones instead because don't want to recreate data when we already have really good data there for it.
Yeah.
So there's rainfall and earthquake. They're both very similar. Yeah, any hazard you're interested in, you can come have a look through the tabs. Tsunami is another one I've been very involved with. The tsunami maps you see down the Bay Plenty coastline, I was quite involved with getting those together, which was pretty cool, because it meant that when my family came to visit, who don't really understand GIS or what I do for a job, I could point at those and go, that's my map, that's what I do for a job, here's the product of my work, I do something at work. Because sometimes when I tried to explain what I was doing, they were just like, I have no idea what you mean. What are you talking about? You make online maps. That's very confusing. So it was quite nice to be able to point at something and go, that's what I do for a job. We can see, yeah, so we've moved towards the blue tsunami zone in the Bay of Plenty, so just one zone. It used to be red, orange, yellow, different tiers of evacuation zone, but we just moved to one zone now. And you can come in here, there's a search bar to find your address, or you can just click on any area in the map and it will tell you you're in a tsunami evacuation zone, be prepared to evacuate in the event of a tsunami, or click anywhere else, you're not within the tsunami evacuation zone. And then if you're here in the event of a tsunami,
Georgia,
should
do
be
you
good.
know how are
Yep.
those modelled? Are they on height or elevation, or is there some other smarts in the background?
So we're actually going through the process right now. We're just about to release some new tsunami maps. So this one you're viewing here is a mixture of 4 different models done by each of the TAs. So Taonga City Council, Western Bay, Whakatane and Apotiki all had their own modelling done, and we worked to kind of standardise these a bit and combine them into one model and get this blue zone. So it's done based on, I guess, yeah, raster modelling of where a wave is coming in, and yeah, they just run a model over and over again and then take the highest wave height at that location and then include that as the expected tsunami height. And so we draw the zone based on that. And then once we get the raster output, obviously it's a little bit messy. Sometimes, you know, if you come in here, the raster would have mostly followed here, but there's probably 1 or 2 cells out here, or that say blue, but there are a couple in here that say that they're safe zones, but you're not going to go to one random patch in the middle of a field just because that one says it's safe. It's just, you know, elevation was slightly different, you know, computer modeling. So we tidy that up a little bit to make it one clear boundary where we can say, you know, the risk is lower outside this point, and make those calls, and also sometimes tidy them up slightly to bring it to a road boundary or something like that that's easier for people to remember and follow if it makes sense, just to try and make the maps as easily understandable as we can. And
Could you show the attributes again, Georgia, just to see what kind of the questionnaire from Keith about the wave height that's been used? Just wondered, maybe is there some information in the pop-up that tells you?
Not on this layer specifically, because I guess we do have tsunami inundation data available, which is that modelling data. I can show you where to find that on our Bay of Plenty data download page a bit later in the presentation. So that's more the wave heights, the raw data that was used to get this evacuation zone, but the evacuation zone itself is a polygon created from that raster, so we can say here is where, based on our civil defence experts' knowledge and the raster modelling that we've received, is the tsunami zone or is not in the tsunami zone. So this has really been broken down into in or out. But that is available all through our website, and I will show you that later on. But it's not in this viewer just because most people don't want that much information, and when we ask them for it, they say, no, we just need to know where the zone is. So it's there, but just not quite in this view.
Thanks.
Similar, which might be of interest as well, is our sea level rise tool. This one's got a bit more information that kind of falls into that area against it. This was in collaboration with Waikato Regional Council. So they did the model and ran it for both Waikato and Bay of Plenty regions, and then we built the tool that it's displayed in. So this is sea level rise information of scenarios based on different wave heights, so from mean high water spring up to 2 meters. And the way this one is set out is there is a water depth, which is as the blue colour gets darker, the water's getting deeper, and you can click on. You can't click on individual values in these cells, but you would be able to in the raw data. See where water depth is getting deeper. And we also have this indirect flooding or inundation areas. So where the models predicted flooding would occur, inundation would occur from the ocean, from sea level rise, that's in blue, but areas more inland that are under that height, so under 0.8, 0.6, whatever value you've selected, are highlighted in green as indirect flooding or inundation. So they're low enough that they could be inundated, but they're not connected to the sea via this modelling. So they could be impacted by groundwater or some other more indirect effects of sea level rise. but they aren't seen as being inundated straight away from water coming out of this channel into that area. So that's why there's all these little green kind of islands of information off to the side here. This text on the left-hand side explains it a bit more eloquently than I just did. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, please let me know. Yeah, so you can flick through different scenarios here using the radio buttons, and you'll see, I guess at certain points, the screen will change all to blue because that's been connected. There are points where the water is seen as overtopping into this area here, so now this is all more open to flooding or inundation when that sea level has reached that certain height. And yeah, there are a lot of areas that are quite low around the Bay of Plenty. I know out here, even at quite low heights, there's a lot of blue coming in. So even at that 0.2, I believe, there's a lot of that blue area showing up as inundated.
So Georgia, this data, this would have been generated based on LiDAR, aerial LiDAR, which is maybe less than 1 meter resolution in the last few years.
I believe it might have been the 1 meter resolution. So Waikato ran the model, so I'm not 100% sure of the methodology off the top of my head. But yeah, it would have been our most up-to-date LiDAR information that we supplied to them, which is also publicly available on our, if you wanted to have a look at that yourself as well. But yeah, that would have been used to generate this model here. There's also a help tab as well if you want to have further questions. They're a bit more specific. We've got our climate change team's email there as well, and a few more details about the application. And you can also download TIFF files of the raw data through this link here. So if you want to have a look at that in your own GIS software or have a play around, that's all available to you as well. Oh, and once again, you can search for your address if you want to find where your house is and all of this, or any other location. All right. Next up is our aerial imagery and LiDAR viewer. There's a few different applications here where you can look at historic imagery, LiDAR, or we were planning on capturing imagery in the future. So if you're interested to see if your area is going to be captured anytime soon, have a look in there. But today I want to focus on the aerial imagery collections, just because it's the most fun to play around with.
Some of the historical could be useful too. I know in our series we've had a look at reptilians quite a few times.
Yes.
But yeah, that historical imagery would be great if you can spare a moment or two after.
Sure. Yeah, no, happy to look at that as well. But you can look at some historic imagery in this view as well. So if we turn on our swipe tool, we can go back to 1930s or 1940s taonga and turn on some imagery around here. Let's see. And we can also look at, say, 2025. So we're comparing now 1940s and 2025 imagery and zoom back and forth. And you can see just there are some areas that used to be all farmland. Now a lot more housing, a lot more buildings than there are today. Now today than there were back then. I always find this one a bit funny to look at because you can see it's all on the estuary, it's all on the harbour, land down here, and now there's a big highway on it, which always feels concerning now every time I drive on it. Yeah, so just comparing development change over time, there's plenty of examples. We have aerial imagery from 1930 through to 2010. So you can look at some 2007 compared to 2018. So if you've got examples, you want to see what's changed over a certain time period, it's a good way to come and have a look at that. See where developments happened, where I guess land use might have changed, where there used to be maybe dairy farms or something. There may now be kiwi fruit farms. Yeah, and just interesting to see, like even just down there, you can see it's all been developed and changed. So yeah, it's quite a fun one to have a look through, see kind of if you're familiar with the Bay of Plenty, there might be some imagery that reminds you of how things were when you visited years ago. That was quite a good one to look through. And you can also turn off the swipe tool if you just want to flick through different layers as well and turn different ones on and off. You don't have to have that swipe capability turned on. There is also a little zoom to button. So some of the ones, especially the earlier imagery, only cover kind of funny areas. So if you're zoomed out to an area, so it's quite common that people go, oh, I can't see the layer, there's no data here for it. And it's actually just because they're not quite in the right space to see that imagery. You can also sort here oldest to newest or newest to oldest, depending on what you're interested in. And we do have a layer list here as well for turning them on and off. If you want to turn multiple on at the same time, because this view here just allows you to select one or two if you've got the swipe tool enabled. You can print from this view as well, so if you want to create your own maps, and draw as well if you wanted to mark annotations, highlight a certain property, draw a box around it so that you have an area of focus. You can draw those in there as well. And let's have a quick look at the historic image photo centres as well. So yes.
That's great.
So coming in, zooming in, you can see the location of all of these photos. Click on one there to highlight it in the list, and then you can view the full high-res image in your browser there as well. I don't recall, maybe it's here, all of the sources of this imagery exactly, but it does give you the date that it was flown, the run, altitude, and the scale there as well. So if you want some more specifics about exactly when an image was taken, or exact, as you know, the aerial image collections, you have the year in there, but if you want to get down to that date level, this would probably be a better tool to use. Oh. It's not letting me unselect.
It's all right.
Okay. Might have to refresh the page to get that one to work again. Another thing for me to look at after this. It's always good going through these apps and trying to use them for presentations.
Yeah.
You discover all sorts of funny things. They love to pop out during live demos. It's great. Yeah, you can also click on an entry in this list. If there's one of interest, it will zoom you to that point location as well. And you can just scroll through and click the links in here for multiple images if you'd like as well. Oh, and there's a time slider too I nearly forgot about.
Oh, fabulous.
So that you can slightly hidden in the corner there, see the time range, and then get photos for that specific time period, and it just filters the map there. So you can see
Gotcha.
as you... Yes, yep.
Just this will be really interesting to a number of people. And are these the same images that are available on RetroLens, or are there more likely to be available from the council?
I believe this does pull from the same source as RetroLens. Yes, I think we pulled some externally. I can confirm that with Dean, who built the application, but I'm pretty sure it is. I don't think we own all of these. And I think we would be sharing that information back and forth as well. So it's more of a Bay of Plenty focused interface for viewing that information.
There's a question for you from Kate.
Yep.
Do you know if the Regional Council still has a site at Whakatane that holds some of the council's historic records? It might be more information management query.
Potentially. So we do still have an office in Whakatane. I don't know about what sort of records they hold, but I imagine they probably would keep hold of historic records. We are required to hold on to records for a certain period of time at least. So likely, I guess it depends on how historic you're looking for and what exactly, like what sort of records. I'm happy to help you with that or ask some questions of our information management team. If you want to get in touch with me, I've got my email at the end of this presentation. You're welcome to give me some more specifics there if you'd like, and I can see if I can help you out with that.
And now I assume there was like a borough council or something in the before time. So yeah, there'll be all kinds of old plans and things. And Lynn's has a number of those kinds of plans as well on RetroLens.
Oh yes, yeah.
Not RetroLens. What's the name of it? Retrospect. Doesn't matter. I'll have to go and track it down. Anyway, please carry on. That's great.
Yeah, next up. So a lot of the tools that we've shown you have been quite specific to one data set or one kind of topic. And sometimes you want to view multiple different things together. We obviously can't create a web map. We try to cover everything that people want to view quite frequently, but we can't create one that shows every combination of data sets that people are going to be interested in ever. So that's why Bay Explorer exists. This is our slightly more complex GIS mapping tool, which also sits within our website, and it allows you to turn on and off pretty much every layer I've shown you today, and just a whole bunch of other publicly available data that we have. So if you're searching something and you're not quite sure if we have it, this is another place you can come to look. And it just gives you a mapping interface, so you don't have to open it in your own GIS software or your own applications. You can come and use this one here if you would like. So there's a search bar at the top, so we can turn on the data locations. We can turn on resource consents. So I search for consent. Oh. It always immediately gets busy when you turn that one on. And mangroves, just because we can. Mangrove extents. So you can search for layers if you know they exist or you want to see what we've got that fits that criteria, or everything's been split into groups that we tried to group similar data sets together. So all our environmental layers are under here. Consent and compliant related data is all under one grouping. We also share some data for the KDC, so it's Kawerau District Council and Poriki District Council, Three Waters. We support their GIS quite a bit, and they don't have their own viewers like this, so that's why their data sits in here. Taonga, Whakatane, Western Bay, the larger territorial authorities will have their own data in their viewers as well, which you can view on their websites. You might also turn on some more reference data like property boundaries or the base map you've selected, like mine already has them on, so I don't need to add those on as extra. You can zoom around using the buttons in the corner or your mouse. So let's see, there's an area. Here's all of our layers in it. There we go. Also, if you expand these little buttons, it gives you all of the different symbology options for a layer, so you can see what different colors mean or what different symbol styles or sizes mean on your map. This one is slightly
Georgia,
different.
Could you show that transparency tool just there?
Yes, sure. I
think that'd be quite cool.
So if you've got layers within a group and you want to be able to see what's kind of underneath them, you see this mangrove symbology. Not quite sure why we went with bright red, but we did. And we decide, you can't see what's under that. You don't know what there's property, if kind of what the environment looks like. You can just use this slider to change the transparency on a layer so you can get a bit more of that context, what's underneath it. Just by using that tool there. So you might want to adjust that to make sure you can get a bit more context as you're working. It applies at the group level, usually, sometimes at a layer level. So if I was to also turn on mangrove removal boundaries, you can see that's also got the same transparency. So it is all linked, but usually we try to group together similar things. So hopefully that you want similar transparency coverage for all of them. All right, this one is slightly different than the other ones where you can't just click on a polygon or a point to get information about it. There's two different views you can be in kind of when you're using the map. There's this pan view, which is the hand symbol. This allows you to just drag your map around, kind of navigate to where you're interested in. But you need to come to this identify tool here, and you can identify using just a point, so a click, a line, anything that intersects with that line, or a polygon, and just draw a shape, and it will highlight or it'll select and give you further information about anything that falls within that polygon on the left-hand side. So we want to look at the mangroves. We've highlighted 8 different polygons there. And as you hover over them, it highlights in blue which one it's referring to. So you can check and go, yep, that's the one I'm most interested in. And let's open up the attributes, and we can see all that attribute table information listed on the left-hand side here. Close it down. You can also upload your own data into here. So we accepted quite a few different formats. So CSV, so like the Excel kind of spreadsheet type format. KML, which is what you get from Google Earth. You might get it zipped up as a KMZ. Shape files or GPX files from a GPS device. If you've been out in the field, got some points and lines on your GPS and you want to view them in a map, you can upload them in here. Or you've got zipped folders containing file geodatabases or shaped files. You can also just drag or drop them into this box, or find them on your computer, go upload. It'll give you a chance to select what color symbology you'd like for your data set, and it will add it to the top of the layers list here. So you can turn it on and off, query your data, have a look at it, and see where it points and your features are in comparison to any of the other layers within our viewer.
And Georgia, that when you upload data, my assumption is that it's also similar to as before, that it's just in your browser. It's not, you're not sending that off to the council. It's just going for you to browse, and then when you close your browser, it's gone. Yeah,
100%. We can't access that. We have no idea what people are loading up in our viewers. It's just for your own use. You see it. Once you've closed it, it's gone. And we don't get that data. We're not collecting that in any way. It's just for you to view it, and then it's gone once you've closed the app down. There's also the option to create your own maps, similar to PDF printed maps, similar to in the other viewers I've showed you. You can select A4 landscape or A4 landscape with legend. So slight difference there. You have to come in and select whether or not you want the template that comes with the legend option printed on. I think depending on the size of it, it's either down the side of a page or on a separate page. You can select output as PDF or JPEG.
That'd be great if you wanted to put it in a PowerPoint or a report. Because PDF you can print nicely, but just being able to output that map to a PowerPoint using this tool, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, yeah. So we can create a JPEG map, change the resolution to higher. You can set a scale if you want it to be a certain area. You can see at the moment I've got A4 portrait, and I'm getting that red box on the screen, which is showing the exact area that my map is going to cover. And I can give it a title. So it's going to be called BayMaps Regional Council Map. Print that out. Give it a second. Just hit open file once it's done. And this is an image you can copy straight into a PowerPoint or presentation, or
Word document,
email it to people,
email.
Word. Yeah.
And of course, you could use the drawing tools to highlight some aspect, draw attention to the place that you're wanting to focus attention to. And then, of course, the councils, they don't see that unless you email it to them.
Yes, yeah. So there's a more tools tab at the top of the screen, which has those options in it. You can see that there's the measure tool, which allows you to draw those lines to measure the distance or the area. So you can see this is 373.08 meters long. Close print map down. You can change the units there as well. You can also this tool here under the drawing menu is just drawing polygons, points or lines of your area of interest. So you just, that's your own annotations. Data doesn't go to the council. That's just your own drawings for this session. You can use this tool to edit them if you change your mind and go, actually, I've included a bit much there. And you can save your drawings as a shapefile if you would like to keep them. If you decide you want to come back to what you're working on, you can export that shape out as a shapefile. It will download as a zipped folder. And so you can use that in other applications if you'd like. Or if you want to come back and reference it again, you can use that upload data function to put your shapes back in and reference them again. There's a plot coordinates button as well. If you want to type coordinates into these boxes, you can. It's a couple different coordinate systems at the top here, but also if you hover over the map, you'll see that the coordinates fill out automatically. So you can also use that to figure out a coordinate for a location. When you click, it puts a little pop-up with the coordinates there and starts a second coordinate, so you can do this multiple times if there are multiple points within a area that you want to show. And if you wanted to export these, you could now come back here, print another map, and it would show these on it as well as your drawings if you'd added them, and your measurements, I believe. So if you wanted to mark certain locations as areas of interest, a few different ways you can do that. And there was one more tool I was going to show you here. Lost it now. Oh, here. Nope. I've lost the buffer button. There was, I think it was, 1 second.
Georgia, I'm just looking at the time.
Oh, yes, we are. I've chatted a lot.
This has been great because you've just been cruising through all the tools, nice, good pace. Okay. I'm just wondering if we could just maybe skip to, there's quite a few chats on discussion about data and accessing data. From plain old ordinary downloads to how to access REST services. There's been a couple of questions here from Keith, who's very complimentary of the services and the apps that you've made here, and he's questioning why don't other regional councils do this? And my response was, some more than others, I guess. But it's a good set of tools you've got. So I'm just wondering if you could skip ahead to how do we access the data? So if you've showed us how to export the resource consents, but maybe I think you've got, and it's also linked in that one.
Sure.
And there's lots of links in that story map page which everyone can access. But I'm just wondering, could you just zoom in a little bit, Georgia? It's just a bit hard to read in some parts. Hopefully those little zooms I've been doing come through in the recording.
Okay, sure.
How would we
perfect.
get a REST service if we wanted to add that layer into our QGIS or ArcGIS or MapInfo or something else? How would we do that?
Cool. Yeah, sure.
Or
So this
download.
is our data download page. That's also on the Bay of Plenty Maps website. So if we decided this was a data set we're interested in, we could just click it in our list.
Georgia, how are you for time? I'm just wondering, there's some folks asking here if we need a part 2, and yeah, I'm just thinking.
I've got a little bit more time right now, but also happy to do a bit of a part 2 or follow up with some other resources on the story map or whatever you think would be best.
I think if we come back for part 2 at another time, or even just if anyone's got questions, please do put them in the chat, like what data, how do we access this data, these kind of things. Even if we are unable to organise another wānanga, then maybe even just Georgia and I can go through at some time and look in good slow detail and make that recording available. But anyway, sorry, Arapo, back to you.
Yeah, no worries. So on this page here, there's a few different options. There is a download button here, which allows you to download a copy of the data, and so KML, shapefile, CSV, GeoJSON formats. The other option, now I've zoomed in, and this I want to use this tab at the bottom allows you to view API resources, create a map, open the layer in ArcGIS online, create a story map. So if we do that, what I can do, which might be easiest if people are interested in our REST services, is we do have a publicly available REST service. I can send you the link to that and we can just send it out or put that on the story map. So that's just easiest way to do that there.
Great.
So I'll get that out to you. And so once you've clicked that button, open this in ArcGIS Online, it's just brought us to a ArcGIS Online item page. You can then open that in the map viewer, copy the URL, and do an add data from path in ArcGIS Pro, or hopefully the equivalent in QGIS. I'm not quite sure what it's called. Yeah, it's just
QGIS will use that ordinary ArcGIS.
Yeah. Is the tool called add data from path though, or is it called something slightly different? Sometimes the tool names are a little bit different. Like something similar. Yeah.
It is a bit more. I think you've got to add the server, and then those who are using QGIS will know the trick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But
being able to find that.
Yes. So two places you can get the data. I want to use this if you are looking for those more, APIs, REST end services to connect to the data in a way that will keep it up to date over time. But if you want a snapshot, a download for use in something else where that service isn't going to work, you've got a few options under there as well. And yes, since we're running out of time, I will send that REST service to Dwayne so that you can all access our public REST servers. And get maybe a bit more of a instruction around that, or we can come back for a part 2, whatever we decide is most useful. Awesome.
Can Georgia, could we do one small thing just for Cameron? I think probably would enjoy this the most. If you could go to the REST service for that data set, I'll show you a little trick that we often do, which we very quietly like to call hacking.
Oh, yeah. Let me find our REST service. This is our public REST service here. So
if you take any REST service that you find on that site, Cameron, you just delete little bits off the address at the top, or you click, I'll just see if I can zoom in, Georgia. Just near the top, if you could just point out where the Bay of Plenty Maps and the services directory is, just there.
Up here? Yep.
Yeah, and that, if you click one of those, that lets you kind of explore any of the public facing data sets. It doesn't necessarily give you any or that much, you know, the context. So it can be just a bit of a hikoi, a bit of a tutu to see what's there. But it's quite fun to just, you know, see what's available, because, you know, if it's not meant to be accessed, you won't be able to access it.
Yes.
But if it's used in a public site, you can quite often add that to your own QGIS or your own ArcGIS projects.
Yes, and this Bay of Plenty Maps one is set up to mirror as best as possible the categories in Bay Explorer. So you'll see in here, if we come back to layers, we've got boundaries, consents, compliance, cultural, and then in our West service, boundaries, consents, compliance, cultural. So you might want to use Bay Explorer to get a bit of a better idea about what's in here and do that exploring, and then come to the REST service if you're looking to access data that way and hopefully be able to find what you're looking for relatively easily.
Awesome. Some of us are too impatient.
Fair enough. Do it, do you?
Give us the rest there. I'll sort it out. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm here to give you options, and then so you can do whatever you like. No? Within reason. No.
Well, Georgia, this has been a fantastic session. I have seen lots of very complimentary comments in there. I'm sure everyone has enjoyed the chance just to go through some of these very slowly, which you've done a fantastic job of. There's a question here from Ngātai or Narsali. Ngā mahi, Georgia, ngā me nui, Georgia. The session, great to see how the data is able to be viewed and used. Very helpful and wonderful learning. Awesome, great stuff. Lots of great comments in there. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Now, Georgia, are you happy to share your email with folks? Have you got it on your PowerPoint?
Yes, I have it on my slides. Yes.
And so now's the time to make a note of that, whānau, just because when we close the session, it'll disappear. So that's georgia.edwards@boprc.govt.nz. Fantastic. Awesome session. Thank you, Georgia. And we will make this recording available on the Ngā Poutama Matawhenua on the Lynn's YouTube channel once we've gone through the process of transcription and all those good things. So with that, thank you very much. And we'll, if you have further pārtai whānau, feel free to send those through to Georgia directly. I know she'll enjoy replying to some of those pārtai. And yeah, the next session, I think we're going to have a look at, I'm trying to think of what it's called now, the Earth Science. The old, anyway, that's going to be
Science New Zealand?
That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And then after that, we're going to have a look at AI, perhaps in May. And then in June, we're going to have a look at story maps, creating 3D fly-throughs and story maps, and some of the new tools that you can also do for free. So thanks very much, everyone. And I'm just wondering if Tanya is available, if she would be able to finish us off with karakia. I'll just see if I can add you in here, Tanya. Here we go. If she's there, kia ora. Just may need to unmute here, Tanya.
Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia. Unuhia I te uru tapu nui a tāne, kia wātea, kia māma, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua I te ara takatū. Koira I rongo tūturu, whakamoa kia tina, homie, huie, pai kie.
Kia ora. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you same back channel, same back time next week, next month. keep an eye out for the email from Toitū Te Whenua. Kia ora. Ka kite.
Kia ora.